Now that we've got the HTML and CSS out of the way, we can focus on JavaScript and completing our application, adding in the functionality and creating that dynamic effect that we can with JavaScript. And I know a lot of you are excited to get started with JavaScript. So the first thing that we need to do is select our elements. And these are the elements that we're going to be using throughout the application. And we select them into an object format in JavaScript. So say for instance, we've got a button and we potentially might have several different buttons that we want to apply the functionality to. So this is where we can select that button and apply our interaction to that button. So taking a JavaScript variable, setting that up as btn, we're going to select the document using query selector. And if we want to select all of them, we could do query selector all. So we're going to select all the elements that have a class of modal. We could also select it via the button tag as well. And because it's a class, we have to put the dot in front of it, just like we would with CSS. And that gives us the ability to select the button. And then once we have the button, you can console log out that button object to see what it looks like in the console. So refreshing that, and because we only have the one button, we see it represented within the node list. And when we hover over it within the console, you see that it also lights up within our page. So we're ready to use that, and we can loop through all of the buttons. So in case we've got more than one, we can do a for each, set up a function, and what this function is going to do is it's going to allow us to add event listeners. So as we iterate through all of the elements that have a class of modal, we can output those buttons as objects within the loop. So we could use button, and now you can see that if we had more of them, they would be output here. And we get that essentially the button object that's represented within the DOM, that's also the element that we've got on our page with the class of modal. So now we can pass that into a function. So let's set up a function, and we're going to say make click. That's going to be the function. And we're passing in our button object. So the same object that we've got over here, we're passing into a function. And let's create that function. So within this function, this is where we can create all of the element contents and make it interactive. And this way, we can apply the same functionality in case we had different elements that we want to make and have them open up the modals. So adding in the event listener, using the JavaScript add event listener, and listening for a click event, we're going to invoke the function. So this can just be an anonymous function that will run. So once the button is clicked, for now we're going to log out to the console just to make sure that everything is still okay and that we're able to click that button. So now we've taken that all of the elements with the class of modal, placed them into a node list represented by the variable button, and then we're looping through the variable button, and for each one of them, we're outputting each one of the items within the node list. So if we had more, we would output all of the different elements that we had within our node list, and then we're passing that element object to a function and using that same value, that same object value, and adding an event listener. So let's try it out. So now when we press the button, we see that we've got click showing up within our console. And that's exactly what we want. So we're ready to move on to the next step. So go ahead and add the same functionality into your page and make your button clickable.